Hello and welcome to BB Uncovered, a specially curated podcast series by the Movement Studio to celebrate Dr. Biodun Shobanjo at 80. My name is Tosin Adefeko, but my friends call me Tosh. I'm the CEO of 82 Resources, the Movement Agency. By now, you wonder, who is BB and why should I care? Why should I listen to this any further? Stay with me for a second. To the uninitiated, BB is a father, a husband, grandfather, business leader, a corporate titan. He's a philanthropist, and easily one of Nigeria's finest communications practitioners. A pioneer in the industry, unchallenged, if I might add, with a chain of firsts. He has a career spanning over 60 years, from broadcasting to public relations and advertising. He founded Inside Communications over 40 years ago and has since set up many other companies within and outside the marketing communication sphere that employ over 20,000 people. This series is specially curated and powered by the Movement Studio in honor of this great man, Dr. Biodun Shobanjo, fondly known to many as BB, as he celebrates his 80 years around the sun. On this three-part series by the Movement Studio, we will uncover the man, BB, from the lens of those who have had the privilege to experience him. You will hear tales of his humble beginnings. You will hear stories of how he became the star of marketing. More importantly, you will hear stories of innovation, stories of impact, and stories that will inspire. This is a legacy of a man who cared so much about people that he dedicated his life to building people, one person after the other, including yours truly, if I might add. His favorite quote: if you take care of people, they will do excellent work. If you do excellent work and do so consistently, fame and fortune will follow. Stay with us on the Movement Studio as we uncover BB the man, BB the global icon, BB the legend. BB had the will to win. If he won in life, I assure you, you can too. So let me tell you, this series promises to be life-changing as we have lined up practitioners from all fields of marketing. And even if you're not in the marketing industry, you will enjoy life stories. Our guests are all accomplished in their own right. If you subscribe now, of course, you'll be helping our channel grow. But we also promise you, you will not regret it. Follow, like, share. I'm yours truly, Tosh, and I look forward to hosting this special series by the Movement Studio. And joining me to host is Oluwatosin Ojebisi, who will be my co-host on this production. My friend Udeme is a great man. But as they say in local parlance, I no big rich. So I will just say my Oga Udeme is a great man. You're very welcome, sir. Thank you for joining us on the Movement Studio. Let's take it from the beginning. What is your story? What is your BB story?
My first meeting with Mr. Shobanjo was a most profound experience and something that stuck with me, up to today. The words he had to say to me when we spoke, I'm Odeme in Calabar. You're obviously a big fish in a very small pond. We are going to give you an opportunity at Insight. We are going to come into a mighty ocean. A small fish with room to grow. So I accepted that 20 naira differential in my salary. One thing I must say here is that experience of Mr. Shobanjo of Insight exposed me to a world-class work environment, world-class clients, world-class bosses who knew their stuff, had the confidence, and were truly inspirational figures for those of us trying to grow in our profession. And of course, the chief inspirator was Mr. Shobanjo
BB himself.
Our meeting was not a happy one at all. I had just been appointed marketing director at the Guardian newspapers in 1985. I was told that agencies tend to owe newspaper houses money for no reason. So they will be paid money, and they'll keep the money. They will not pass the money on to newspaper houses. So when I was given the job, my brief from the publisher, Mr. Alex, was, all right, Yemi, you're now marketing director of the Guardian newspapers. Make sure you get all the money we are owed by your friends. And he said to me, and I know your friends, one of them is Nia Lungi. I said, yes. He assumed that I knew Biodun Shobanjo. I said, one of them is Biodun Shobanjo. They owe us a lot of money here at the Guardian. You better make sure that as marketing director, you recover those debts. So when I then met Biodun for the first time, I never met him. I heard about him. And then Daly said, here is Biodun Shobanjo. I said, you are the ones that owe us money.
Oh my God.
Oh my God.
That would have set him off.
And I got him off. He was angry. And then so he said, my friend, who do you think you are? Biodun Shobanjo is an embodiment of the finest attributes of the human spirit. And I say those attributes, I don't say them lightly.
Yes.
Kindness, generosity, just being able to stand by you as a friend. Biodun has all those attributes, in quantum. And I don't use those words lightly. Yes. I don't say what I'm saying to you lightly. At my age, I've learned now that you can't say that about too many people. As you get older, you learn that only a few people can be called your true friends.
The great Steve Babaiko, who happens to be my... He wouldn't accept the legend title, but I call him a legend. He's my friend, a mentor, and a leader in the industry. You're most welcome for joining us.
When I started, I think I'll be one of the few recruits at the time who did not go through the chairman's interview because they hired me as a trainee copywriter stroke a production assistant. So I hit the ground literally running. So there was no chairman's interview until one day. I think I don't even know. I just come from break. We walked to my desk, and lo and behold,
you met
Dr.
Chairman.
Biodun Shobanjo walked in.
Oh my
God! It was
God.
like Zeus himself come down from Mount Olympus.
Honestly, I used to feel when he comes around, I'll be like, oh, Chairman.
The room was eerily silent.
Yes.
Everybody, and then he went to the wall. He has this habit of pulling one of his earlobes like this when he's concentrating on stuff. And then he was looking at something because normally in that agency we would display some of our creatives on the wall. So he was looking at it and he was looking at it and he was looking at it. That was fine. And all of us creatives were right behind him with our hands just. And then he said something. He looked at one of the work and said, "Who did this?" And there was one of our friends. We laughed at him for months after that.
Yeah.
And he came and said, "Actually, Mr. Chairman, sir, I did the pastel. When you wanted to do artwork at that time, you have to do pastel." He just turned back slowly and said, "My friend, I didn't ask about the pastel." Half of them are people who are fiercely loyal and loving of him. They love him so much. But the other half are people who really, really, I won't say hate, but
they're like,
they really can't stand the man.
Well, I really didn't get to meet him until I moved over to PromoServe as client service director in 1988. Then I met him. We didn't develop a strong relationship, but I met him and then it grew. And then we started Prima Garnet, and then we really built a strong relationship. So that's been
the trajectory.
Insight was the first agency to buy 3 Mercedes V-Boot for its directors and all that. Mwemeke would never allow that. He was too conservative. He would say, look, what do you want the clients to be saying and all that? So he did things differently. He brought in a lot of style, not just to show off, but they were also doing great work. Anytime I think about him or see him and all that, one of the things that comes to my mind is he wasn't afraid about daring, especially daring to be different. I don't think he even ever thought of failure or not succeeding. He just wanted to be different, and he wanted to be different positively. And for those who know him, he would put everything in it. Or when I think about him, I just see somebody who loves to challenge himself, who loves to do different, who loves to do things differently, and who loves to succeed, without any doubt. I think somewhere within him, he believes that everything is possible.
He made an extremely indelible impression on me. I will not forget that day. He's a very immaculate, smart looking.
Yes.
You won't meet him and forget you met him. So he was there, confident, talking. And then he was giving us analogies, analysis. He was plying his trade. And I kept looking in awe. Say, wow, what manner of man is this? I remember very well he brought out his pen. He said, I have a Mont Blanc. It's not the same as a Schiffer. And he kept on, and I said, oh my, this guy just finished me. BB is an enigma of some sort. So if you ask me what made me stay a whole decade, or spend a whole decade of my life with him, I would say I saw in him, somebody who knew where I was headed. I saw in him somebody who is actually a true leader. I saw in him somebody who truly deserves to have proteges, who is not a fake, follow me for my selfish reasons, kind of person. No, it was genuinely true to the vision of, yes, building a name for himself, but then genuinely also helping others come up, realize their full potentials.
One of the legends of advertising on this continent. He does not like the whole exaltation, but we just have to call him who he is. He is Mr. Jimmy Awoshika, the Vice President of the Troika Group. You're very welcome back.
Thank you very much for having me.
I must say, he also happens to be my boss. He trained me in marketing. And today, I'm just going to act like I'm not in awe of him because I'm here to interview him. But he knows that on a normal day, we're not sitting on the couch like this together. I'm sitting behind the table with my legs wobbly.
On the 27th of June, 1977, that was the day I met Dr. Biodun Shobanjo.
A specific date.
Within 3 months, I was fully aligned in Dr. Shobanjo's group. It wasn't very funny in those days. I mean, most people dreaded being in that group. In those days, all you'd see is a very short memo, like 2 pages long.
A very short memo that is 2 pages long.
Yeah. And it will start with your surname, dear Mr. Awoshika.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Then trouble.
Wow.
He'll first of all, and he usually would write his memos very much like a prosecutor would. So he will state the offense, the issues. He will state the issues. And then he will state your performance, saying 1, 2, 3, 4. And then he'll go on to now tell you his own views of your performance against those issues.
Wow.
All right.
In that detail.
Yeah. And then finally tell you what he thinks you need to do.
Okay.
And most times it will involve you having to, within a given period of time, shape up, because he will state it very clearly there that the motivation would be for him to recommend you to actually be moved out of his group. If you are moved out of Dr. Shobanjo's group, you are actually out of the agency.
System.
So,
amazing.
I don't differentiate between men and women.
He always says that.
He will always tell you that. I don't differentiate between men and women. The women work just as hard as the men. Are you ready for the challenge? I said,
I'm already. I love it.
That was my first.
And you ended up working with him for how long?
Hi. I started in 1990, 4 months before I got married. And that I was getting married in 4 months had nothing to do with the work.
You still had to focus.
You did that work.
Please, to our young listeners.
But you did that work. They didn't want to know that you are going for dress fitting,
Nothing.
you are going for cake tasting. A little client is waiting.
Exactly. Wow.
Have you taken the artwork? Have you been to see?
You do it gleefully.
Amazing.
You did it with joy because you knew you were learning something. I mean, there was nowhere I couldn't walk into. There was nobody I couldn't talk to. You just got that confidence from the aura of working inside. I mean, I think really and truly, other agencies did not like insiders because bragado watipoju.
And you had
You
that
guys are
pride,
all-
right?
Yeah. You walk
And they
into
come
somewhere
up with
and they know that the
just
insiders have arrived. You know?
Yes.
Even like when we go for pitches, remember?
Mhm.
Oh, everybody will be there, kind. Inside, we just sit looking at everybody. Okay.
On some
Yeah.
high
Yeah.
pedestal.
Just go in and say
I
what you
love
have to
it.
say. We're coming
We're
next.
coming.
My first physical conversation with him was, he came in one of our trainings like that. I think he just came in for a meeting and he just peeped in, and I was like, wow. He's like, I was seeing a God that very day.
I have to pause you there because you're like the maybe second or third person saying, your boss when he was here, Steve, he said it was as if Zeus. What is that? Why do people describe it now?
Like, you know, that at the time he had resigned from
Yes.
everyday management of the company, and just him coming, and this is the man I've been seeing everywhere, and he's here, right? So I just rushed up to him. I was like, sir, if there's anything you can do for me, I want you to give me an autograph. I wish I brought that autograph because it's one of the things that, you know, I did an interview on Business Day at this point in time, and I said, if there's, you know, if I want to work, it's going to be inside communications. And just seeing him sign on that thing was just like, this is the dream come true,
Inspiring.
right?
Fantastic.
And, you know, that was it for me. And that was like the only time
Yes.
that we actually interacted.
Magazine.
Interview,
Okay.
television. Just saw this man, aristocratically dressed, everything aligned. Father of advertising, they called him. And you just wonder, one day I hope to meet him. One day I hope to be like him. One day I want to touch the hem of his pristine
There
suit.
were many of us like that.
My first physical encounter with him was from a distance. I had gone to Media Ridge, that's Oduwa Way, to seek advertising in our magazine. And I saw him walk past. That's Troika, the Troika building. And I saw him walk past. This multicolored bow tie, you know, and was talking sternly to someone. I said, yes, that is him. And even though he was, you know, the people he was talking to, they were terrified. You know, I was inspired. I was just like, whoa. Scream me a direction.
Scream me to excellence.
That's it. Scream me to excellence, you know. He's fixated on excellence. He's fixated on even cleanliness and near perfection and order. Like, he wants his shoes arranged this way. He wants his slippers. He wants his singlet. He wants his coffee. You know, he's meticulous.
Yeah.
What ticks him off?
Very easy. Don't know how to keep to time. Don't know what you are about. Dressing is a part of it. But the key thing is display ignorance and then be very combative about it. You are finished. And the moment he starts to tell you, excuse me, please know that you are off point. Recalibrate. Knowledge, timekeeping, he doesn't care.
African time.
If there's no such thing as African time with him. Essentially, he sees this as an irresponsible person's time. So if you are a minute late, I think it will even be better for you to be 24 hours late.
Oh, okay.
Because he doesn't joke with his time.
Anytime he went for an event, he was always there on time. I also kept to time relatively, but I knew that this man was particularly interesting. Despite the big image we had seen of him, he was somehow a good timekeeper, you know. And he always had this bow tie, I remember. Always in a bow tie, somehow. So he was a kind of smooth dresser, you know. For ladies, if you see men that are smooth dressers, at least women to like to look at what looks good. So it was quite at least interesting to see somebody who's well dressed. And I think he liked my bluntness of confessing that we stole their training manual. I think that was even the part that people wonder who on earth is this kind of Uber or something like that. But I noticed that he noted me as a person. And what amazed me was this a person who was very senior, but somehow he remembered names. And he asked questions. And he will ask you a question, even though you were maybe not even in his group at that point. But he will ask you a question, and when you see him, he will actually almost call you by name. Abumi, how are you? And I just think, with all these things that this man remembers, he actually knows you by name.
I mean, we've read all the stories about how this man is, how he keeps to time and all of that. So we had sent out a time about our event, But he came to Brandcom Awards, and we are still setting up.
Oh my!
And he sat down in the hall, and we said, "Who? So what do we do?" We just calm down. I'm here for the event. You told me this time, and I'm here by this time. When you see everything about him, everything about the businesses that he's been running over the past more than 40 years, you realize that there's a touch of excellence in everything. That's why you realize that most of his companies are legacy companies that are pathfinders, trailblazers, that other companies have to take after their model.
He has a style about him. He's a very organized person. You can see that in the way he's dressed and whatever and all that. It's very disciplined in terms of timing, in terms of, you can't fault that. But I recall back then in MCNA, at some point, he would come very early in the morning. And he was actually picking guys, even bosses coming late.
Oh my God.
He was that kind of person. He doesn't get in the way. But you can't help but feel him. When it's important, when it's necessary, he sends you,
a message.
His post-it notes. It's yellow post-it notes, with a message. He's a very pragmatic person.
Yeah.
He knows exactly what works and why they work. What I love most is the fact that he will go to the end of the world. He believes in something. It's the way to do it.
I have had people say, you are going to his office, you don't have time. And you just
you want to show up like that.
He will throw you out. When you get to a meeting and you have Mr. Shobanjo in attendance, you know that you don't joke, no side talk, and it's business. There was a time he told me, because I had the opportunity of tutelage under him, he would tell me that there was one time they were having a meeting and he raised up his hand to either disrupt or draw at that. And Mr. Shobanjo looked at us and said, young man, you have to be seen and not to be heard. And the man said, he get down to him that day that he is there as a secretary, so to take note. And so he's not supposed to just be, and that is the nature of Mr. Shobanjo. I have come to respect him as a leader, mentor of mentors. There was a time in this industry that while I was still in AAA, 60% of the MDs of advertising agencies in Nigeria are ex-insiders. 60%. And if you're talking about the top 10 agencies, you will say like 7 are ex-insiders. They have gone through either MCIA or Insight. In fact, for me, Mr. Shobanjo is an institution.
Why do you always wear a bow tie?
Okay.
I asked him and he laughed. It was like, why does everybody always ask that? And he said, okay, the reason is because I am a brand and I want to stand out and I'm a gentleman and that is my signature. And I was like, okay,
I
no
love
problem.
it.
So it was, and I must also say that, the experience with Shobanjo, with the chairman in the Troika group and at Insight, anywhere you walk, is almost in the walls, in the air, every time. It's so unwritten. But even if you've not met him physically, you somehow must have experienced him. Is it after a meeting and you don't draw back your chair in the, into the table and they say, no, here we push it back. That's what the chairman will say, meeting etiquettes and stuff like that. So in everything we do, we always experience him one time or the other.
Let me talk a little bit about him being a disciplinarian. I think we just need to talk about that.
Are you sure I should not be the one to talk about it?
Are you suggesting that because you're the
first
one, right?
Yes.
I think they took all the heat for us. As a disciplinarian, we'll be playing, whether it's football or basketball in the house. On weekdays, you're supposed to get home, do your homework. At some point, he even said you have to do your own laundry. Nobody's going to help you. You have to do all of these things. You know the horn, remember when you hear the horn from down the street, you don't hear the horn.
Scramble.
The driver, Mr. Shino, the same way he hunts.
And you know who
He
you
does
are.
it, everybody.
Everybody
And
was-
we used to have all the neighbors in our house, right?
Yeah.
Everybody would just start running
We
different
don't-
directions.
We don't run. We actually
That's the
teleport.
funny
Right?
thing.
You see
Oh
us
my
running,
God.
people left, right,
Right.
up, and once you just hear that horn, bam, it's giving you
And
notice.
the basketball is still in the air.
Oh my God.
We all just scramble into the house because
Yes.
you don't want to be found there.
It's a funny story about board meeting.
Mm-hmm.
Because, you're there at the board meeting, you're presenting him, yes, sir, no, sir, and he'll give you all the stories. And there's one small error. First of all, they'll dress you down, whether you're his son or not.
Yes.
You will say, Mr. Biodun Shobanjo, listen to me. Unfortunately for me, after the meeting is done, when it's
Your
done-
own continues.
No, he will call me. He will call me. So, what happened here? Blah, 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 whether it's commendations or whatnot, you think that's the end of it. Let's say it's around 6 o'clock. Say, come and see me.
So what the dosage we were getting, you were getting 3 times.
Ah.
Oh my God.
There was a day that I got in about 8:10. We resumed at 8 o'clock. And Mr. Shobanjo was at the top of the stairs. And he was looking down.
As a
And
who
he
is
was
that
like,
person?
7:20.
Folke.
His car
No,
drives
he would
him.
call your full name at that point. Folke Ayuba. I'm like, yeah. So, yes, Mr. Shobanjo, you're late. No, I'm not. It's only 10 minutes. Folke, go home.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Tell them.
I thought it was, no
Joking.
redemption. No. I'm like, oh, please. Folke, I was saying, yeah, I'm only 10 minutes. I'm like, go home. I said, what, Mr. Shobanjo, please now. No, go home.
Abi?
This will be the last time that you are late if you have to go home every time.
Very good.
That was indeed the last
That's
time I was
right.
late.
Oh
because
my
Mr.
God.
Shobanjo would get to the office from Ikeja
yeah.
at
7:20
7
exactly.
o'clock.
Wow.
And I was,
and he would drive you
Wow.
I dare say it was 7.
from Calabar Street.
Yeah, Calabar Street. It was
Mm.
7. And I was down the road and I was coming at
So
8:10.
what was
There's
what
no
was
way
your
it was going to
excuse?
exact. No, I didn't have one.
Amazing.
I was thinking I was pregnant. And then, no, I beg. And that was it. I have never been late.
Lateness is a culture, so to say, in Nigeria.
Mhm.
I'm not sure that, apart from you saying 1 o'clock or whatever, I'm not sure that anybody from the tracker group will come here late. You understand? Because even if I wanted to come for a meeting, I was going to be late. It's baby we are talking about here. In your mind, you're thinking to yourself, no, let me tell you, because I even came in here at 12:30. I driven around. I went to go and show my staff because I had an office here before 37
Oh,
Raymond
wow.
Njoko. I showed him around. I drove around and all that. We parked. We just stayed in the car. Then we walked down. I can't afford to be late. And it's
Absolutely.
you understand?
Yeah.
So those are the culture you get. When you talk about Nigerians, you talk about that they're early for visa appointments. So if we can do all of that. So for me, it's not been that because of him. You will go for meeting late. That's what? I don't know. I don't know. And this man in those days is one person that any new brief or any new business that came, he will be there. Especially when we're brainstorming for our pitches and all of that. He will appear. You know, the kind of thing that when you say someone sit in for the client and then you appraise us like without any, I'm not interested in this. This is not my company. I don't even know you guys. And because we were part of the Troika group, we used to do the experiential part of insights thing. So we'll all sit down in the boardroom and do like a presentation to him as our client. And I remember in the brainstorming session of this particular activity, I honestly can't remember what came up, but what I remember is him saying that, does it really matter whether or not I went to school when I have surrounded myself with the best of the best? At the end of the day, who is the best? Him now.
You first of all hear the name, it's like a myth that goes before you around the agency. So when I joined Insight, I didn't meet him immediately. The person I worked closely with was Mr. Woshika.
Okay.
I worked closely with him on Nigerian breweries, Pepsi accounts. So now Woshika is a stickler for excellence. And he oversaw some of the things we did from strategy to creative execution and all of that thing. But there was that thing around the agency where if you didn't strive for the best thing you could give out, don't let it leave the agency. And again, that was emanating from, desire of advertising, we call Mr. Biodun Shobanjo. And the interesting thing was he knew everyone. He knew your name, or he knew you. So, okay, Franklin, right? And then before you know, he started telling you about what you've done and everything. So he watched from afar. He kept, he knew the kind of things you've worked on. And that means he kept, so presentations you developed, things you've done, he start giving you details and stuff like that. And you're like, okay, this guy's not just became task, but he also knew the kind of work you did. It was elegant.
Okay.
You just saw him and respect came into the room. Didn't say much, but you just felt a force. There was an energy. It wasn't someone you could miss anywhere. Came into the boardroom. Either he came in before you or he was already sitting down. You just felt something, you held yourself. Not because of the name or the level or what he did. There was something mystery, like you wanted to uncover him, wanted to like what is behind this person.
I still tell him today that when I grow up, I want to be like you. Because those shoes are so big, huge. I don't think it's possible to fill his shoes. But I remind him often, and he finds it quite amusing. I'll just say, Daddy, just don't forget. When I grew up, because
you haven't grown up yet.
No. Not by daddy's standard.
Yes.
No. So
amazing.
There's a lot of growth still to.
Remember this day like yesterday. We went to his house. He hosted myself and Debola when we were planning the Red Summit. The Red Summit was an event for industry leaders and people who are in comms, people who are in marketing, and people who are in advertising. And we kind of just needed the big man's blessing for the event. And we sat there just listening to him, and I kept looking at him. I'm like, wow, this man has done so much. And he sat down just advising us on how we should do this, why this is important, how he's willing and ready to support us. And myself and Debola were really grateful for that meeting. Yes. And I told myself, I said, I need to meet this man again.
Yes. Have you been able to meet him since
I
then?
haven't since then.
Okay.
Dr. Sho has been able to build so many businesses. And if you think about the brands that he's built, they actually stand out and they're exceptional. Yeah. I remember when I started my career, if anybody asked me, I aspired to work with Insight. And that's because Insight was just that advertising company where if you go for any pitch and you see them, they walk in, there's just that thing about them. I was just like, this is the kind of company I want to work at. Yes. And it cuts across all of the brands that is built. It just makes it stand out in a very distinctive way. Yes. And you aspire to even want to be a part of those brands.
BB is an enigma. In Yoruba language, they say, any moko, any komo. And for our listeners who don't understand Yoruba, yes, sir, it means that he is a difficult person to unravel. Biodun, again, I'll repeat, is an enigma. Biodun is different things to different people. Some love to hate him. Some hate to love him. Biodun is a very determined person. Biodun is a risk taker.
I see.
And in fact, I think that's one fact of his life that a lot of us could not
match up to.
Biodun did not believe that anything was unachievable. All he needs to do is think about it, set his eyes on the ball, and Biodun will get it done. And for Biodun, he doesn't care whose ox is God. What I want is what I want.
From the fringes, I've always been a very firm admirer of this man that pretty much did a lot of work to giving us the advertising industry we have today. And what a lot of people don't know about BB is that he transcends, many generations, and he transcends many insights. Little wonder he set up insights. And I say that advisedly because he used to be a radio man before. He used to be a studio man at NBC. That's the national broadcasters in the 60s and 70s. In fact, he worked very closely with Fela. Fela Kuti. And afterwards, he did a lot more work. He had worked in the customs service. He had transcended every area before he finally said, okay, let me come into advertising. And he came into advertising at that emerging stage of advertising in Nigeria, just a sweet spot in the 70s when he worked in his first agency and finally decided to take the bull by the horn to be able to set up his own. And he has also been an inspiration for a lot of people. There's another very good friend of mine that is also a strong, child of the source. I should use that word. Dr. Uforta said that it was after he went to a training event that BB had sent him to, and he saw the light.
He told us that story.
That was when he could break out.
Yes.
And BB said, I give you my blessings. If it doesn't work, I'll come back. And that's the kind of heart BB has. And that's why he can merge everybody together. And a lot of people, maybe a lot of the generation might not have seen, but people in the former generation, when BB came on TV and he had to present that, apprentice-like television programming, that was what BB showed. Fortressness, thought process, accountability to everything he does, and a stickler for time. And BB's life also exemplifies partnership with Uncle Jimmy Aoshika. He couldn't have done it alone. You need people to work through the journey of life. And he's been blessed, to have Idea Money by his side, but also Uncle Jimmy as regards to business and, the can-do spirit, which is unusual. I remember these because I'm also a product of a lot of conversations. So my pastime every Saturday or Sunday is sit down with BB and we just talk. We talk for 5-6 hours. And, I remember how BB started the security company. It was because of something that could have taken his life.
Okay,
fighting on and saying to himself, I'm not going to give up on this crazy ragtag robbers. But apart from all of the conundrum then, he now took it one step further by saying, why don't we have this in the ecosystem? And he keeps innovating every time.
The first thing I want to say about Biodun is that he is a visionary. He thinks through ideas and he is a hard worker. When he puts his mind to something, he never backs out. He goes after it. He is thorough, he's meticulous in every aspect of branding work that we now do today. Biodun was the only one who was willing to take in those guys from America. I don't know the name they used to call us in those days, but Biodun was the only one that felt, I can share my room with this young man.
As in, why did you say that? Is it because he wasn't intimidated or?
No. Biodun that I know doesn't feel inferior to anybody. Doesn't feel intimidated by anybody's whatever. So he was the only one that was willing to share his room with me, and we got along very, very well when I was in Grant. I remember those days. If Grant wanted to win a pitch, it has to be through Biodun and I.
Wow. So you guys were working very closely together.
We were working extremely closely together.
I have known BB to be an enigma. And two famous authors come to mind readily when I look at this personality. One of them is Charles Caleb Colton. In one of his many quotes, he said, in life, we shall find many men that are great and some that are good. But in very few men, we find those that are both good and great. Another famous writer, a Swiss writer, Aimé Frederick, who was also known to be a very great philosopher of his age. He said, great men are the real men, for in them nature has truly succeeded. Having quoted these two famous authors, I have seen the practical life experimentation and observation relationship with BB to be in sync and in symphony with these two great authors. He is one of the very few great men that are both good and great. And of course, BB is a shining example of a great man that's a the real man, for in whom nature has truly succeeded. This he has done by dint of hard work, transparency, honesty, professionalism, and passion.
Mr. Shobanjo's passion would always burn through. It was that he's a very driven human being, and he was very, very razor clear about where he was going, and that cannot but be what they call it, infectious. He made it clear from day one that the mission was we want to be number one. And that was, it's for a young man, there's nothing as beautiful when you think that here's someone who's saying, we go in there into battle and we're assembling a team and we're going to do it. And in just a few years, we did it. He was that very, what I love about him is, those qualities of a great leader, where a person has that can-do spirit, that clarity of purpose, that is able to share the vision and sell the vision to you, and then he walked the talk. He was extremely focused.
Times in the 90s, early 90s, I believe, there was an unfortunate incident on the front page of most newspapers at that time, and it said one man engaged the police from night till dawn in a gun duel in his house somewhere in Ikeja, and it made national news. That was the first time I got to know of anyone that's called Biodun Shobanjo. And he made national headlines. So which man will engage the police in the gun duel? Because armed robbers came to attack his house somewhere in Ikeja at that time.
Okay.
And those were days where armed robbers would come to your house, and so the man was prepared. So it began to that was the first time I heard about the man, and I rose some curiosity in me that, look, who is this man that will engage the police in gun duel? Sorry, the armed robbers in gun duel till morning. So saying that when police came in the morning, he thought that the armed robbers were still there, and he kept on shooting.
That's amazing.
And made national news, and it was when the police were surprised, and I learned that then there was some crisis. How could the man engage? And so that's what I knew of Mr. Shobanjo. I believe that was what led to the formation of Halogen. Yeah.
If there is one person who truly can lay claim to knowing Biodun Shobanjo, that would be Dr.
totally
Ken,
agree.
because 25 years is not a joke. So I know where the body is buried. I mean, the bodies are buried, so to say. Now we're talking about an incredible human being. An incredible professional, incredible man. You see, what makes people great is not just because they acquire greatness, but what they make of themselves when the opportunities fall on their laps. And Bibi is one of those kind of stories. He has the three qualities which most men don't even have one. And what are those qualities? I mean, he has intellectual curiosity, contemporary relevance, and classical elegance.
Dr. Ken, I've always known you with this one. You have to take those three again. I've not even sunk in the first one.
Yes.
Intellectual curiosity.
Yes.
What is the second one?
Contemporary relevance.
Okay. I'm going to make you break them down.
Yes. And classical elegance.
Classical elegance. I love that.
Yes.
But I think I know what you're referring to. Something to do with the bow tie. But let me let you break it down. Go ahead.
Yes. So you see, a man is not complete when you are not intellectually curious. It's not enough that you have intellect or you have intelligence, because by quotient, that intelligence could be 8/10. But what do you do with it, and how are you able to bring it to 4 to the things you do, whether it's at family unit, whether it's in community, whether it's at sub-regional or national or even entity, how that impacts on substances or people, as the case may be. So he has that. So he was able to develop his intellect, and even areas where he saw that there were gaps. Biodun Shobanjo has the ability to hire that gap. Contemporary relevance is that you have curiosity, intellectual curiosity, but how relevant is it to today's knowledge? So he always, even though he's going to be 80, but he has a new knowledge that can equate that of a 40-year-old man or even less. So he's contemporarily relevant, So there is no subject on earth Biodun Shobanjo cannot discuss the new version of it. And he's 80. So you wonder what kind of man maintains that kind of relevance from time to time. So that's where contemporariness comes in. Then is he classically relevant? I mean,
elegant.
He has classical elegance, because there are no sometimes moments. Biodun Shobanjo is a big, strong brand. It's a premium brand. And what do premium brands do? They deliver with ruthless consistency.
That's a powerful statement. I love
So it's a bundle of benefit, and Biodun Shobanjo delivers on promise, and that promise he delivers with ruthless consistency. So that's where the elegance comes in.
I walked up to the fair complexioned man. I said to, excuse me, and said, are you Mr. Shobanjo? He said, yes. I said, I introduced myself, and I said, well, I'm here, I'm looking for a job. And he said,
this was a cold call. Like you had never met him. Wow.
And he said, why do you want a job with us? And I said, because I live around the corner. You actually said that.
That was your only reason.
Wow. I remember it was just on the corridors that I kept on seeing this man go in and out. And then I think the first time I went for a meeting with him was Milo, the account. Nestle.
Yes.
It was Nestle. So Nixon, myself, Mr. Washika was actually supposed to be the lead, but for some reason he came on that court, and I was in awe. So this is the man. This is this person. After how long? But he was so nice. Like, have you settled down? Very, spoke to me nicely, and I was like, so he can't bite now.
I sit with a visionary media and communications entrepreneur. She is the MD CEO of 83 Resources, the movement agency, Mrs. Tosin Adefeko.
That is some bias going on here. So disclose the bias. It's interesting that I get to sit on two sides of the production. So it's my pleasure to also tell my own BB story. Let's talk about the beginning. I think before I encountered him, I had encountered him. And I will tell you what I mean by that. There's a sense in which you'll be following someone's life without the person knowing. So it was,
Were you stalking him?
Not stalking physically, but stalking on the web and everywhere he existed.
Oh, wow.
So when I started to interrogate the industry, his name kept popping up everywhere you go. He was the guy with the bow tie. He was doing a production then, and I forget the name now, but we all know it now, the Trump version of You're Fired. So when I say stalking, I'm talking about real life stalking. So he's speaking somewhere, he's reading anything, I'm reading about him. And then it so happened, I ditched my banking job and told myself, you know what, let me just go and study marketing. Maybe if I studied marketing, I would find a place in that industry. Now, on one of my several trips, going back and forth as a student, lo and behold, just as we were about to board a flight, I just saw him. It was as if I saw a god.
Wow.
He was standing right there, and I'm like, that is that guy. That is the guy. He's going to laugh that I'm telling this here, because after I met him, I didn't even tell him the story until many years after. He almost fell off his chair. Wow. So what happened was, you know how you just stimulate yourself and give yourself that courage? That's our elevator pitch we always talk about.
Yes.
Me too. I said, let me do elevator pitch. And I then went, I was like, hello, sir, you know, that's meek way that people come to you, and now that I'm older, I'm wiser. Hello, sir, I'm a student of marketing. I'd like you to be my mentor. Can you please give me your number? Please, if you're watching this, don't do it. Because do you know what happened?
Yeah.
He was all nice and gracious and everything. Give me his card. And then it was as if I won the lottery. And then I'm punching the numbers when I got to my apartment in London, punching, the numbers never went through. So I think Dr. Sho probably had a fake card and a real card. Dr. Sho confessed because let me tell you, I think the first thing as humans that we appreciate is people to see us, right? And even now that I'm also a leader, I try to make everyone feel seen and allow everyone to be able to express themselves. I think I must have taken that from him because one of his greatest attributes is, first, he used to come visiting our offices because we all had different offices, right? So he used to come visit our offices. First, when he walks in, this is someone that when he comes, and I'm sure you might have heard one or two other guests say it, that is like, God has come. At least he was our own mini God in those years, right? Yeah. So when he comes, everybody's like running helter-skelter all over the place and all of that. But he's a very simple guy. So he just walks in casually. If I remember properly, he would even greet you. I remember he would even give you 2 pecks on the cheek. And I'm like, okay. He was that warm. He's extremely attentive. Everything you tell him, he remembers. So I'll never forget how I was having my 3rd baby now, while I was now in the group. And I don't know if he heard I was having a baby or after the baby was born, but whatever the case is, he sent me a note with a token to, congratulate me and all of that. What if I tell you I still have that note? I think I should take it to him and show him.
Of course you
that
should.
that little kid is 10 years old. Wow. I kept the note.
And this all starts in sometime in the early 1970s when I was working as head of production for Pearl and Dean and shooting many commercials for Nigeria and in Nigeria. And one day, a very young, smart, quite lovely young executive came in to see me and introduced himself as Biodun Shobanjo. Biodun is setting up his own agency called Insight Nigeria. And he asked me if I would shoot some commercials for him. And that was the start of a lasting friendship and love which still exists to this day.
Bibi had created Insight Communications along with 3 talented executives.
Managing Director Bibi,
Account Director Jimmy,
Creative Director Richard, and finally Finance Director Femi. They were the team that formed Insight Communications.
Bibi commissioned David to shoot Insight's first television commercial. And that was the beginning of a relationship all those years ago that continues to this day.
In doing so, establishing a lasting friendship of respect and love for each other, brotherly love.
All of us that have worked with Dr. Sho, we all look at him like a mini god. I've had people describe him on this podcast. Someone said when chairman comes to the office, it feels like Zeus has come in. Is on the lighter side. But what I want to ask you is, you've lived with him. This man that we all think, this champ. There must be some chores that you make him do at home. Tell us.
He does.
Exactly. We want to hear it.
Especially
Let's
when
break him down.
Especially when we go abroad. When we travel abroad, most times he makes tea for me in bed.
Oh.
Most times, if he doesn't make breakfast, he orders breakfast for me.
Mm-hmm.
He cleans the house.
You see?
He makes the bed. So he's a sweetheart.
Yes.
So let me just leave it like that.
So you would describe him as a romantic?
It's very romantic. I know he's very, very romantic. I don't know what he is in the office, but I know he's a very soft, he's a home man. He's a home man.
We love it.
He's a home man.
I think I love this conversation because it's different. It's the softer side of Dr. Biodun Shobanjo.
Precisely.
And I'm going to end it by asking you to wish him in your own words. Leave him a birthday message that we can also share publicly. We know you would have the private one, but leave him a special message.
What private one?
You
are naughty.
I'm not there.
You're very naughty. What's private
yes,
about?
Now you want the private birthday shenanigans.
I want to wish him all the good things that he wishes himself. I want to wish him good health, most especially good health, because that's the ultimate. I want to wish him good health and happiness and long life. May he live as long as his mother did, because his mother lived in good health. So I don't think I want to live up to 100, or he wishes to live up to 100. So I might go before him and keep a place for him. But definitely I don't want to live up to 100. So I wish him all he wishes himself. I wish him all the best. And